Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I am Latisha Johnson, the District 4 City Council member. Um, Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you all. Thank you, y'all make me feel good. You make me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile, okay? Thank you, thank you. So we like to make sure that we stay connected with community and that we are accessible for residents in the community. And so we take our monthly community meeting throughout the district, both sides of I-94, just to make sure everybody feels the love and that everyone can come out to a meeting near them, because we want to make sure that everybody can get to us. We still, if you've heard me talk about this, I have talked about getting a mobile unit for our office so that instead of residents coming to us, we go to them. And I'm still pushing to make that happen. And so that is something that is near and dear to me. I understand how challenging it can be for individuals to come out to us. And so we just want to make sure we avail ourselves to everyone throughout the district. With that, I'd like to save my comments till the end of the meeting, but would like to introduce Amy Fanta to come up as the host of the meeting here at Mount Calvary. Amy is the Executive Director, President, CEO, all of that for Camp Restore Detroit. Let's give Amy a round of applause.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was just running around the parking lot, so I'm a little hot and sweaty. Thank you so much for coming here tonight. Thank you so much for having your meeting here tonight. We're really honored to have you here. For those of you who don't know what Camp Restore Detroit is, we are here in the community. We actually are housed in the upper floor of this building. If you see all of the stuff that's been going around this, the property here, all the grass that's been going in, the houses that have been renovated, mid-renovation, just right here in this property. That's us. We're doing that. And so our goal here, we bring in volunteers from across the United States. We house them and feed them here. And then we send them out into community-led service projects. Because our real goal is to make sure that everything that everyone is working on in the community is as successful as possible. So our goal is to resource your projects with the people, the manpower needed to do those projects. And then the campus here is meant to be a community campus. So here in September, we just got a grant from University of Detroit Mercy, their Design Collaborative Center that will start in September holding community meetings to design the property around here and exactly what our neighbors would like to see happen on this campus. So that's who we are and that's what we do. Thanks. Oh, sorry. And George, is that what you? A couple things. We also did get the Shot Stoppers grant with Denby Neighborhood Alliance and Wayne Metro. And Mr. George Preston is working on starting a radio patrol. And so if you're interested in that, please talk to him. And he sits on the board of Camp Restore Detroit. And Miss Sandra Turner Handy also sits on the board of Camp Restore Detroit. And Miss Sandra Turner Handy is working on starting block clubs in your neighborhood. So if you're interested in a block club, please talk to her. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just saw one of your other partners come in, Mr. Philip Sample. So thank you so much for being here. With that, we are going to go ahead and get started with the program. I know many of you are interested and excited to hear from the Detroit Land Bank Authority, who is our guest for this evening. Our goal and focus is to make sure that we bring city departments, authorities to our residents so that you are clear on what their role is, what their responsibility is, and how you may be able to connect with them as residents in the city of Detroit. So with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Dwayne Barnes to come up and kick it off for the Detroit Land Bank.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be in District 4. It's always a pleasure to be with Member Johnson. My name is Dwayne Barnes. I'm the City Council and Government Liaison with the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Tonight we're going to have a chance to have a conversation, answer some questions, share some information, and then also hear back from you. So tonight we have a couple of esteemed guests from our organization with us. If you look in the back, we'll go from my right to left. We have our CFO who will be coming up next, Mr. Reginald Scott. And then we have our land use director. I believe I got that right, Miss Savannah Robbins. And then we have our strategies and what's the community initiatives and strategies manager, London Scott. And we'll also have our compliance director, Mr. Antoine Glenn, to join us as well. So I see tonight in a couple of different ways. One, we want to give some information and we want to provide some insight, but we also want to hear from you as well. So we're going to leave some time at the end of the meeting to take one-on-one questions about a specific property or a specific issue or a specific anything that you would have, and we would do that in the back. But first, we want to give just some information to give a quick rundown of who we are, what we do, our departments, the way you can interact with us, and we usually bring, or I'll say this, we wanted to provide enough information where it was just enough to where you got what you need from us and not just overflow of everything we do, all the things that we do, and then you walk out like, what did they just say and why did I just spend this time with them? If you have any issues, in the district or anything like that, I'm the person, I'll leave my card as well for you to contact. Anything that comes to Member Johnson, anything in her district around properties, inquiries, or any problems you have, Dwayne Barnes is the right person to get in contact with. And with that, I'll leave the balance of the time to our CFO and COO, Mr. Reginald Scott, and he'll give a rundown of our organization, and then we'll follow it up with Ms. Savannah Robbins. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dwayne. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you all here in District 4. I enjoy being here as well. I think I was at a community meeting in District 4 earlier this year, specifically hosted by Mr. DeWicki, so it's good to see you all again. My name is Reginald Scott. I'm a native Detroiter, so I am not someone who drives into the city to come to work. I'm born and raised, and I'm a resident here in the city of Detroit. I am the CFO and COO at the Detroit Land Bank, and I've been with the Land Bank since April of 2016. So I'm going, it'll be close to 8 years this coming April. And I was on vacation last week, and I was just telling somebody that I reflected on this. Like this morning, it wasn't one of those things where I was like, oh, I hate going back to work. I mean, I was glad to have time away from work, but I actually love the job that I do, and I love the work that we do. I like the format of this meeting, and I'm not going to be super long-winded. And the reason I like the format is because, as Dwayne said, in many instances in the past, when I started with the land bank, I was over disposition or sale or property sales, like structures and things of that nature. And oftentimes we would come to meetings like this and we would have so much prepared to talk to you about and tell you all of these things about the land bank. And then it was a presentation, and it never was something where somebody said, look, I got an issue with this house next door to me or down the street or around the block from me, and I need some assistance in resolving that issue. So the format as we have it today is set up for your benefit. Like London and Savannah and the team that are here, if there's a question, if there's a concern, if there's an issue, they're going to log that question or concern, and then they're going to bring it back to you. And bring it back to us so that we can actually solve the problem. It has been and continues to be a pleasure working with Member Johnson. She does work on your behalf. She works for the individuals and the residents in our community, and we work collectively together to solve some of those challenges. So like I said, I was over sales and disposition, and what the Land Bank has been successful at is we have been successful at selling many of our structures that are in your neighborhoods that are in inventory. Our land, we've sold side lots, vacant land, structure sales, be it auction and own it now. But there are some critical things as we turn and we move into this next phase of the land bank. There are some critical things that we know as an organization that we have to address. And some of those things, and that kind of explains the departments. For example, we have a legal department, and our legal department spends a lot of time responding to or filing NAP lawsuits. And those are lawsuits for those individuals who own property near your homes or your land who are not taking care of that property. And that property should be taken care of, it should be occupied. So we spend a lot of time filing NAP lawsuits against those people who violate those things. Our community relations team and the team that is here tonight, we recognize that we could sit downtown in our office in the Guardian building and be the land bank and then just do our job, so to speak, or we can actually be in the community talking to and actually solving the challenges, the issues of the residents. And so tonight is a reflection of us trying to do that more consistently and more regularly. And, it's pros and cons of the land bank. We're not going to say that there isn't, but I will say that we work diligently as the largest land bank in the country. And the challenge that Detroit has faced is not a challenge that any other city has faced or faces as far as our land ownership. The government or public organizations probably have never been envisioned to own this much land, vacant land and structures. So that wasn't how it was envisioned, but as we continued to be residents of the city of Detroit, I don't like to always say turn it around like Detroit was turned around the wrong way, but as we continue to be residents and grow our city in the proper way, we've recognized that this is a challenge that we have to face, and we're trying to do it. We don't do it well all the time, and but we are working collectively, though I can represent that and say, to try to solve those problems. So I wanted to mention that because the two groups that are here tonight that are going to spend a lot of time with you, and I'm going to get out of the way and be quiet so that the real work and our questions can be answered, is our land reuse team. And what that is to me, I always call it like it's the clearinghouse in a sense, because every property has a story, and if there is not a property that is being made available or made available to you or available, oftentimes there's a reason why, and we want you to be able to have access to them and be able to contact them and talk to them about it. The second team, though, that is critically important, and this is critically important for the city of Detroit and the work that we do as a land bank, is our compliance team. Because if you buy a structure from the land bank, after you buy that structure, the next component of it is the compliance component. And what the compliance component basically is how we monitor you and how we monitor purchasers to make sure that they are getting the property fixed up and getting that property occupied. And it has to be in compliance with our regulations, our BC. They work with us to make sure that the improvements that are made are properly compliant to any state or local mandates. They're not going to allow them to build something that is not allowable in your neighborhood or something like that. But most of the time, we're monitoring it just to make sure that the individuals are doing what they said they're going to do. Keeping it clean, keeping the grass cut while they're fixing it up, making sure they provide us updates and things like that. And currently, I'll let Antoine give you the exact numbers when he arrives. However, there are over 7,000 properties that are being monitored in compliance, because that's the number we sold. So the good thing is we sold them. The challenge that we all face and that we have to be honest about is that we have to work with the individuals who purchased them to get them fixed up and get them occupied. There are limited resources that are available from a public standpoint, but we work with the city of Detroit. We work with all the city departments for the land that we actually do have that's still in our possession. We work with GSD to do 5 lot clearances every year. So with that, when our property maintenance teams tells you that GSD does all it clears our lots, oftentimes the challenge is if some people come and dump in the lots and there's a sofa that's in the lot, it doesn't allow for GSD to clean that lot. So one of my responsibilities at the land bank is I'm over the property maintenance team. So when there are not resources available from city departments or our own internal team or vendors, then we have to figure out how do we get that lot clear. And that is challenging. We have limited resources to be able to do it, but we do it as much as possible. So meetings like tonight and this evening where you can tell us what's going on in your neighborhood and some of the things that challenge you as residents, we want to be able to, our best ability, handle that. So it's like if the city doesn't have a way to do it, we try to figure out. And what I mean by the city is the city, through your votes, through all of the things that residents have done, we have Prop in dollars that we've been able to spend, but then we've also had some demo department that has been able to come through and demo additional properties. So through some of those resources, we are able to address those needs. So we have to kind of get the address vetted and see where it is and see if we can provide you a resource that is already there. And if not, sometimes the land bank, we take it on between our team and getting an outside vendor to come in and address some of those challenges. So finally, with what I do, I guess, I don't want to say this, but like maybe the easiest part of my job is I'm the CFO. So I deal with numbers, but I joke and I say this, numbers don't talk back. people do. So that's the easier part of my job, because after we make sure that we're monitoring all the things and the resources that you need, I have to make sure that we have the money and the resources to be able to make sure that that's done. So that's when I work with council, and thankfully they I'll say this respectfully, they kicked the tires, they beat us up a little bit to make sure that we were allocating the resources accordingly, but council did pass a budget this year that we got the full allocation of what we asked for from the city of Detroit so that we can continue the work that we do. Yes, ma'am. We asked for $11 million. And we have to run the land bank annually, it's about $25 million. The city supports us with $11 million, and our sales and additional tax revenues, other revenues, support our operations on an annual basis. Now, if one of the benefits of that is that with those properties that we sell every year, it is anticipated that if individuals who buy those homes pay their taxes and continue to pay their taxes, the tax revenue generated by that is somewhere around $14 to $15 million. So we are working diligently to sell those properties to get them, when we say put them back into productive use, part of productive use is getting them back on the tax rolls so that individuals can pay taxes on their properties and generate that revenue for the city of Detroit. So as you can see, I don't, like I said, I love my job, I don't mind talking, but I don't want to take up too much time. I wanted to come in support of Member Johnson in this meeting and in support of the community, and to just be here as an additional resource. The smart people as well are the people who are going to talk to you next. I think Savannah is next, and they're going to talk about land reuse and how you go about accessing vacant land, and then our compliance manager, Antoine Glenn, will talk to you as well. And then we have London, and we have Dwayne here as resources for you. So again, thank you for welcoming me to District 4. It's good to see many familiar faces again, and I look forward to continuing to work with you as a representative of the land bank.
Thank you very much, very, very much. As Savannah gets set up here, and I'll move my laptop out the way so you can get connected. Also wanted to just throw in for a minute. So we'll be having, like Reginald said, we'll be talking about our lot sales, our side lots, neighborhood lots, et cetera. And then we'll be talking about what happens after you purchase from us, be it through our auction, our Own It Now, or any of our structure programs, our compliance. And that's our compliance director right there, making his way in. So I'll pass it over to Savannah when she's ready. And if there's any questions about a specific property or parcel that you're dealing with, we definitely want to hold that question for the end, and we can answer it in the back. But first, we want to just provide some information, a bit of information, so we can. It may be what you need to answer your question. Let's see. Here it comes. I thought it was. There we go. All right, and with that, I will pass the mic.
Good evening, everybody. I've been well introduced, I think, tonight. I'm Savannah Robbins. I'm the Assistant Director of our Planning and Analysis Department, and I oversee our vacant land programs. We at the DLBA call that land reuse programs, so you've heard that a lot tonight. But land reuse programs are the primary programs that we sell the vacant land that we own to residents at the land bank. So as of today, we own around 63,000 vacant lots, and we try to make the majority for sale to you through the side lot and neighborhood lot program. So my team gets the privilege of putting lots through those programs. And like Reginald said, we don't want to do a big presentation tonight, so this will just be a quick overview of those programs, what makes you eligible, and what makes the lot eligible, and then come back afterwards and talk to me if there's a specific lot that you want to buy and you don't know why it's not available, and I'll give you an individual answer for you or have my team reach back out to you. I'm not sure this is working, so. I gotta put that in. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Not a problem. See, we're taking our time for the residents. We're gonna take our time.
Okay, there we go. We're a little crooked, but we'll roll with it. Oh, there it goes. I'll stand a little closer. Okay, my sincere apologies, everyone. So the two main programs that vacant land will be available through for residents is side lot and neighborhood lot. The side lot program allows residential homeowners to buy land that physically touches their property. So right to the right or to the left of your home, and in some cases through the alley. Neighborhood lot is a newer program we launched back in 2020 that allows those side lots where maybe the neighbor isn't interested in owning their side lot, or there are no side lot adjacent neighbors to the lot. We open up the eligibility for that lot to occupied homeowners. So you have to live in and own your home within 500 feet of that lot. You will be eligible through the neighborhood lot program. So some reasons that this is what you have to have for the lot to be eligible. The lot has to be zoned residential. It can't have any delinquent taxes. It can't be over 7,500 square feet, which most lots are not. It has to have a completed demolition process, and it can't have any demo liens. There are also some areas of the city where land is on hold because of our coordination with our city partners. We can give you more information on that on an individual basis if that impacts your neighborhood. And then for yourself, your home has to be a residential home. You have to be nearby to the lot. So again, with side lot, that's right next to it, neighborhood lot within 500 feet. Your home has to be occupied. For the neighborhood lot program, you have to be owner occupied. You have to be under 4 units, and then you can't have any delinquent taxes on any of your Detroit-owned properties. So this here is just an example quickly of what a side lot might look like. It's going to be really close to your home. It's going to meet these qualifications. We make side lots available for 180 days before then they move to the neighborhood lot program. So neighbors right nearby get at least 180-day window of time to purchase the lot before it would go to the next neighbor. A lot have been available for years as well. You get notified of side lots being listed near your home via postcard. So this is one that we would have sent a few years ago. You can see in some cases it's translated depending on the neighborhood. But as soon as a side lot near you goes up for sale, you get notified via postcard. Our website, buildingdetroit.org, is where you can go to apply for side lots. You'll want to, on our homepage, hit the big button there, Buy Land, and then you'll see where you can search either by your home address or by the address of the lot, if you know it. Neighborhood lot, really similar requirements, but just a reminder, it first had to be made available as a side lot. And you also have to be endorsed by a neighborhood lot endorser. That is someone who has a stake in the community, and when you apply and you say, I want to put a small garden on this lot, either your district manager, your city council member, or a local community group or block club that's registered with the land bank will endorse your purchase. And we can provide more information on becoming an endorser if any of you are with a community group that's interested. And then similarly, to look for neighborhood lots, you go to our website, hit Buy Land, and then you'll want to go to the neighborhood lot page. And here you'll search just by your home address, and it will show you every neighborhood lot available for you within 500 feet. And just a quick shout out, I don't know if anyone knows the land bank not recently anymore, in the last year got a new map, a web map that you can use to see all of the properties owned by the DLBA. So check that out if you haven't, and that is it from me. Thank you for bearing with me through the technical difficulties.
General questions?
Oh, sure, and if anybody has any general questions about our land use programs, I could take them now, and if you have individualized questions, I can take them at the end too. Yeah. Got a mic coming.
How is it determined? You said it has to be owner occupied, because I know folks that they didn't own the house, they were not living in the house. They might have owned it, but they didn't
Sure.
live in it. And I know that is one of the requirements. So how do you guys handle that?
Sure, so for the side lot program, you do have to own the home, but you don't have to be the person living in it. So people renting out their properties, as long as those properties are occupied and have the taxes paid on them, they will be eligible to buy it. Through neighborhood lot, we have a clause in our policy that requires a principal residence exemption, so something you have on file with the assessor's office that says that is your primary address. If you can't provide that, you can provide the deed to the home and your driver's license showing that you live there. So we have a pretty hefty burden of proof on that requirement, but if there's a specific situation, you could come speak to me afterwards and we can see if there's anything we can do.
Gotcha. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I see a hand over here on the end.
Where is it?
How many side lots can one person buy? So you buy the lot next to you, then can you then buy the lot next to that once you own that side lot? And how many can you amass, I guess, as
Sure.
a side lot owner?
That's a great question. So depending on the area, the part of the city that you are in, you can buy two to the right. So you can buy the first lot first, the second lot second. You have to buy them in order. You could theoretically buy two to the left, and then you could buy one directly behind, two to the left of that, and two to the right of that. But that is in a world where everything around you is a lot, and we don't have any of those land review areas where we coordinate with the city. In some cases, with the land reviewers, you might only be able to purchase one to the left and one to the right. So it's gonna depend specifically on your block, how many structures there are, how many neighbors you have, et cetera. Any other questions?
We have one here with Member Johnson.
Thank you for that, Savannah. I just wanted to ask if you can share with people the different pipelines that a lot may end up in, and that may be one of the reasons that it's not a part of the side lot program. Can you just mention them?
So outside of, if a lot is already offered as a side lot and potentially as a neighborhood lot, and again, there are a couple different areas of the city where these rules change. But in an area where there is no land review area, there's no coordination with the city, if we've already offered it as a side lot and it goes to the neighborhood lot program, it's then at that point eligible to be purchased through our Creative Project program, as some folks in here tonight have taken advantage of, which is a program for block clubs to purchase up to 4 lots to do neighborhood beautification projects. We also can accept community partner applications, which are various community partners across the city who are interested in doing some great projects. Also, economic development, which is when someone comes in and pays market rate, maybe for something like a housing development. And also our marketing program, which is when the properties get listed, maybe a group of properties that we actually list on the MLS with a broker in an attempt to get some larger scale projects like housing, infill housing, or some bigger projects. Anyone is eligible to apply through our marketing program, but that's one it can end up in. In areas where there is more city coordination happening, sometimes it moves to those programs quicker, depending on if our city partners are allowing side lot sales or not. So if those land reviewers are impacting you, come speak with me directly and I'll get you that information on how that's impacting you in your neighborhood. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And again, we'll be here taking questions at the table. So next, I would like to bring up our Assistant Director for Compliance, Mr. Antoine Glenn. And he'll tell you this, but you run into compliance after you've successfully purchased a structure from us through any of our auction, our Own It Now, or any of our purchase platforms that we have. And then you get into, which is a major part of DLBA, as we sell the property, we also want to ensure that that property is being rehabbed and ready to go by the people who purchase it as well. So I'll give him just a moment to set up, and then we'll be ready to roll. And if there's any general questions, I can take anything that you have or, anything like that while we wait. I do see one hand. Yes, miss? I just have a question. Yep. Okay, you got it. Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. My question is, what happens to the property when it's not being maintained and the neighborhood residents are maintaining a DLBA property?
Okay.
Whom do we speak to about that? Because naturally, the appearance of it is bringing down the rest of the neighborhood that we're trying, or the block that we're trying to build up.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you asked that. That was kind of a foreshadow into what we'll be talking about here momentarily. So we'll be able to answer that for you in just a moment. All right, so I want to hand it over to Mr. Antoine Glenn.
Thank you very much. It is great to see you guys. It's always good to be out in the community. I got the pleasure of meeting a few of you at our at the event at Denby High School this past Saturday. So I see a few familiar faces in the back. Always good to see you. So compliance. What is compliance? What do we do? What happens next? My goal is that before you leave today, that those answers or those questions will be answered for you. So who are we? In short, so just so you know, I don't normally read from slides because it's easier, because I'm here, you can talk to me and see me, but that's up there for your visual pleasure, if you like, okay? So what is it that we do? Well, what is our purpose? We are here to partner with those who want to help to, one, revitalize the city in the mode of purchasing properties that we have for sale, the Detroit Land Bank, to help bring neighborhoods back. We also want to be a source or a resource to those who purchase these properties, knowing that the community can only come back if there's home ownership and people who really want to be invested inside of the community. And we want to support that with as many efforts or many programs that we can develop to make that happen. So what do we do in a nutshell? There's three main things we do. We monitor, we advise, and we coach. So what does that mean, Antoine? What do you mean by we monitor, or we coach, and we advise? Once a property is purchased from going online, you purchase it through our auction pipeline or our Own It Now pipeline, you get the pleasure of seeing me, okay? Hey there, you get the pleasure of seeing me. And you're gonna be with me for as long as you need to be, but hopefully not very long. All right, but the goal is you have 6 months to 9 months to rehab the property up to our interior and exterior core requirements. And I'm going to show you those in a few moments, so you'll see how those look. We have made adjustments to those requirements to make them more achievable for the average person that we see that purchase these properties, understanding that sometimes you may have to determine between what you may eat, what you may wear, or do I need to put a hot water tank, or do I need to put a bathroom somewhere? So all of that is kept in mind. So the one thing I want you to really get from the expression of me speaking with you today is that there is a heart of compassion that we have at the Land Bank. The contract is, if the property is not rehabbed up to our requirements within 6 months, then we have a clause where that property is then taken back into the Land Bank and then repurposed or sent back out to the community in the hands of someone else who can finish that property. It is our goal to rarely or ever or never need to have to do that. We are much prefer, and I'm speaking from me because I'm over compliance, I would much prefer to work and help and assist citizens who are trying their darndest to be able to get these properties back up to habitable use, okay? So how do we monitor, advise, and coach? So I have a team of property rehab compliance reps. And those are the individuals that call these property owners just to see where they're at on schedule. Every 45 days, we ask for photos to show updates of progress. Every 45 days. And you'll find this information on our website as well. But that is the goal. If we're seeing progress every 45 days, knowing full well that some of the condition of the properties may not be in the greatest, it gives us the confidence to know that all of our constituents who own these properties are doing their best and working hard on them. So what are the requirements, Antoine? You keep talking about these requirements. There's interior requirements. There's exterior requirements. We have these core requirements right here for interior and exterior. And once these are completed, and I'll explain how these look shortly, then that means that property owner achieves compliance. That's the golden ring. What is achieve compliance? Achieve compliance means that the land bank no longer has any interest into the property. That means we no longer have any right at that point. You have fulfilled your contract with us, with your rehab agreement, where we do not have a clause where we could reconvey the property back to us. Okay, that makes us happy. We want property owners to be inside the property, changing the neighborhood, and reaching our requirements to make the property habitable so you can go forward and do what you feel best with that property. Some people purchase properties for investment purposes, right? Some for legacy. You might want to pass it down to somebody. And for others, it could just be, I'm looking for a home in the neighborhood that I used to be in before, and I want to see the city come back, and I want to be there. We want to be a part of all of those scenarios, okay? So what does it mean to achieve compliance? Interior. I need a functioning, I'm going to say them out of order, because remember, I don't read slides. I need a functioning bathroom, and I'll explain what that means. A functioning kitchen, an installed hot water tank, an installed furnace, and at least one BC inspection. I didn't say only one, but at least one BC inspection. Depending on the nature of your property, you may need more inspections to happen. And the last thing we want you to be is inside of an unsafe property that hasn't been properly checked by the city. All right? So what is a functioning bathroom? Go ahead, ask me. A functioning bathroom is a toilet and a sink. Ask me about the kitchen. What's a functioning kitchen? I'm glad I was wondering when someone was going to ask me. Okay. That is a sink and a prep counter. Most of us might have sinks that are attached to the prep counter, but it's a sink, a prep counter, and a cooking element. Well, Antoine, you know, I love to ask you questions. So what is a cooking element? What is that? Did somebody ask me a question? It's not even Q&A time yet. Y'all asking me questions? Cooking element, I heard you say it. So we will accept microwaves. Of course, stoves are cooking elements, but microwave, a hot plate, get those from Home Depot. The question that needs to be answered is, can you boil water? If there's ever an advisory where you could not have fresh, can you boil water? And you can boil water with a cooking element, such as a stove, a hot plate, a microwave, maybe an Instapot, depending on an air fryer. Ooh, I don't know if you can boil water with an air fryer, but I'm gonna go back and check. If we change the policy, what's your name, sir? If we change the policy, we're gonna give you some credit for that, all right? We're not gonna give you anything, but you will get credit, okay? You will get credit for that. So that's a functioning kitchen. So when you're doing the bathroom, most of us want tile in, we want floors, and we want walls, and we want vanities. All those things are wonderful and great. The goal is to get done with us so you can go ahead and do what you need to do with as few restrictions as possible, right? So if I see a toilet and I see a sink, I am counting that as complete. Now, Antoine, why did you not say a shower? Most bathrooms have showers. Well, I don't know where you guys grew up or where you were born, but there has been times where I've had to use a sink to do proper hygiene. And at what point is it beyond my authority to say you have to have a shower when you can practice proper hygiene and other means? I got a shower now, and I still use the sink every now and then. All right, so let's not pretend like that don't happen, okay? So what you won't see, and I'm going to go down further, and let me know if I'm talking too long, Dwayne. All right. So for exterior requirements, once all of these are achieved, functioning bathroom, kitchen, furnace, hot water tank, we do want to see utilities. We want to make sure the property is ready to be lived in. Utilities, and that 1B seed inspection right here, we ask for all 4 sides of the exterior of the building, and that the roof and the gutter is in good condition, porch is in good condition, and if I drove past the house, nothing should catch my eye and say, you know what, something looks a little odd here, okay? The goal is that if we release you from compliance, we don't want you to get released and then all of a sudden now you're inundated with, I'm just calling them tickets. B-seed inquiries into your property, okay? Violations, right? So we want to make sure those things are good. Boards off the windows, things to that nature. So that's the goal of how we achieve compliance. Now, what we do one final step in compliance before we release you. We actually have somebody go out and verify. Because the last thing you want in your neighborhoods is someone to fib to me. I let them go, and now you have a headache for the next 15, 20 years, and you're wondering, why did the land bank let this person go? So before we do any of that, before we release them, we go through and we take exterior and interior photos. We have representatives come out to the property for those who are ready. It's a real quick process. We want the boards to be off the windows, unless they're brand new windows. So we understand what some of the areas these properties are in, but we want to see new windows behind it to make sure they look good. Once that's all finished and finalized, then we release you from compliance, and we send you a great email. We say we love you, we thank you, and we also say please buy some more. So that is the goal. Let me open for questions, or you got one for me? All right. Well, you know what? Perfect. It's question time. You do too? Perfect.
I'm going to ask you her question. Watch. So the question is, what if you have released someone, and this may be prior to what you just described to us and everything that the compliance team does. What if you've released someone and you've given them the deed to the property, and I can tell you that I drive past this property on a daily basis and it's not habitable? What do?
Excellent question. So there is other areas inside of the Detroit Land Bank that does monitor. At that point, once we release them, they're privately owned. So there's other departments that then handle properties that are privately owned where they may be considered a nuisance and they need to be abated. It's a program called NAP, N-A-P. You'll see it on our website, nuisance abatement. And we have a team of people who will go out and evaluate the property, try to get that property owner into an agreement to help encourage our fellow neighbors to get the property back up to par. So we do have a program for that. I do not deal with anything that's privately owned 100%. Every property that comes into compliance, we have an interest on it. So once it's completed, water, let me go back, that's the wrong one. Water, utilities, if it's being rented, I want to see a rental registration form on file as well. So it should not leave my department without having all of these items on it. Now remember, the word habitable is being used frequently and loosely, okay? And loosely. Remember now, for the bathroom, I just want a toilet and a sink. For the kitchen, I didn't ask for a refrigerator. I'm not sure where everybody has lived throughout their whole life, but I haven't always had a refrigerator either. And what I have noticed is it's not a requirement, but it is great to have, right? So, habitable. Now, habitable does not mean that the property is 100% complete and finished and you still don't have additional work to do. It means at what point or how fair is it for me to hold interest over your head to say, you got to get this house up to my specifications in order for me to release this to you. At a certain point, we got to understand that we want to make sure that we're not being a barrier to the same community that we're trying to serve and trying to help. Hopefully that makes sense. Question. I see one. Hey, I ain't seen you in a while. I see one and I see two. And I seen somebody else. We got one up here.
I got the mic, Michelle.
Oh, she's waiting? You're going next? How's it going?
Great. Here is a larger problem with DLBA in general. There was a fire on my street Saturday morning.
Okay.
It is apparently a house that the DLBA sold to an investor who has done nothing with it.
Okay.
It's impossible for us to figure out, us being residents, whether you all took that back from this investor or whether the investor still owns it. And there isn't any emergency number at the DLBA where I could call and find that information out. Similarly, we have problems with vacant lots that you may or may not have sold to someone who has junk cars, et cetera, on these lots. We don't know how to tell whether that's a side lot or neighborhood lot or whether you guys still own them. The map on the website is not good enough to provide those kind of informations. And there isn't like a C-click fix for land bank or an own it now, a 800 number or something like that, so that we can take quick action to get these things that are blighted taken care of somehow. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you, thank you. You might need to keep it in case I got a follow-up question for you. You don't want to keep it? He's acting shy like he doesn't know me. We hung out in July. All right. So I'm not going to answer on top of Savannah, but I will say this. At the point that we sell a property, and I'm looking at you so you can correct me if I'm wrong. At the point that we sell a property, that property is now owned by that citizen, the land bank we don't have enforcement on that person any further. So if there's someone in your community or your neighborhood that is not upkeeping their property, whether it's a land bank originally owned or not, the same process applies where you will be reaching out to building and safety and making reports to say that if you feel like someone in your neighborhood is not living up or not following the code of the city. So that part still happens, but we are not the carrot and stick. We're not chasing after people, with a stick and saying, beat them over the head. You got to do this way. Once we sell them a side lot or a neighborhood lot, that is their lot. They must follow whatever city ordinances and guidelines that are currently existed. And if you're in a neighborhood and you see that they're not following them or they're using a property inappropriately or it's not to the proper zone that they're supposed to be doing, I would encourage you to report that to Building and Safety because it's their job to ensure that we are safe in the community. Which one? Like a fire?
Yeah, and I don't know
Okay.
if that's your property. I should be able to call someone, even if it's Saturday, to find out whether you still have that, whether you took it back from this investor,
Oh, I
or
see.
whether I need to find the investor.
Nope, I understand. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Yep, thank you for clarifying that. I do not have a great answer for you today, so I'm not going to pretend like I do.
I actually do.
You got one? Thank you.
I got one for him.
Thank you.
To help you out here. What you're talking about is specific. My name is Lieutenant Terrell from Detroit Fire Department, so I can answer you specifically what you're discussing. What I actually brought today is some information to share with you all, and it breaks down the fire department for you. So, in our pamphlet here, we have connections where you can contact any aspect of our department when you have questions. What you're talking about specifically would be in here, this number here. It says complaints in it, but it is not complaints, okay? That's a misprint. But it is 596-2954, and you can ask those questions there. Now, mind you, you probably won't get someone's personal information, but you may get some answers that will better help answer your question, okay?
There's another piece of his question. I want to make sure I don't miss it. He still wants to know, how does he tell if a property is owned by the land bank or not? Correct? That's still a part of your question. So there's a few ways to do that. One of them is looking at the tax record, looking at parcel viewer. Is there a better way? I will let my team figure that out later. It's in the back. But since I know you personally, I will make sure that before you leave today, that we come up with some type of answer that is clearer than what I'm providing today. Because I do feel like you deserve a clearer answer, and I don't feel like it's coming off as strong as it could.
You can always call either our office or the Department of Neighborhoods.
Well, you could have jumped in earlier. I mean, come on. Don't leave me. You know it's hotter down here. Don't be leaving me up here sweating. What you got for me? Oh, you don't have a question? I thought we had it. Don't be surprised. You've been looking for that question for a while.
You know
Come
I
on.
have. I've been waiting on this.
All right.
Couple of things, and I'll go real quick. You keep talking about the policy was changed. When was the policy changed?
I mentioned policy changing?
You sure did.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you and thank you. So there was modifications made to make the requirements more achievable. That's the word we know, achievable. Prior to these requirements, we would consider them to be a little bit more stringent. I would. So we were looking for properties to be furnished We wanted to see couches and beds. So property owners would take pictures of those. At a certain stage, how appropriate is that?
Very.
For some, but not for all. And as much as you guys only met me for about 5 minutes, and we talking right now, you see me face to face. You may not always see your compliance rep. At what level do you want to know exactly where the bedroom is at, where the TVs are at, and this stuff floating around? And does those things make your property habitable? No, it does not. People can sleep on the floor, and they do. People sleep in air mattresses, and they do. If I don't like the size of your bed or the color scheme, or you don't have a backsplash in your kitchen, all of those items are not items that we would use.
Okay, scratch all that. When was the policy changed, is what the question
2020,
was.
2020, we made modifications. 2020, we made modifications to make the requirements more achievable for those who are in the program. It wasn't as of 2020, anything that was not achieving compliance prior to that, they fell underneath these same rules of having to have these items on the inside as well as exterior. And many of these still existed. Just know that it was more or less like paint on the walls on the interior. Make sure you do have walls. Do you have drywall up? So it's a little bit more specific than what it is today. And if you was ever curious of why, or if you just want to have something to put in your head to think about, if I take a house in any random city in Detroit that we possibly own, if I happen to be missing a few walls in that property, if you walked in, you would say, what's your name? Last name, Claire. You might walk in our house, Claire, and say, you know what, there's no walls in here. If I take that house and pick that house up and put it in another city, it's going to be called an open concept. If there's no drywall on the walls and it looks like brick in another city, it may be called rustic. So at a certain point, we still got to make sure that we are speaking to our community that we serve and ensuring that we're not putting any type of requirements or having a heavier hand on some citizens and not other citizens. So those things are just not considered to be as required to be able to habitate inside of a property.
Real quick, how close do you work with the health department, and is BC, are they your only inspectors? Do you guys have other inspectors outside of BC, or is BC the only contractors that deal with the Detroit Land Bank property?
Give me the first question as well, again.
First question, how closely do you work with the health department?
Okay, great question. So in compliance, we do not work closely with the health department. As the land bank as a whole, I wouldn't be able to give you that answer today. The second part of your question regarding who we work with as regards to inspectors, BC is for the city. So we always encourage all property owners to go through BC because they're going to ensure that your property is up to code and is safe.
No, I'm talking about the inspectors that you have.
Oh,
that
I'm getting
go
to that.
out.
Oh, I forget. I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. So we have several different type of inspectors that go out. So I have people that go out to just take photos. So they're called inspectors because they're taking verification photos, but they are not going through check and plugs, GFS. It is to verify that what was sent to us from the property owner is actually in the building, actually inside of the facility, the property. We also have other inspectors that's a part of our inventory team that goes out and look at properties before they even get posted up for sale. So we have a few different people that go out to properties to look at them, but do not think of us going in like code enforcement. We're not.
No,
code
but my question was, because if BC are the only inspectors, y'all need to check BC because a couple of inspectors that you guys have. Yeah, I mean, what is the criteria? Because if an inspector comes out and pass a piece of property that shouldn't be passed, and they're able to do this numbers of times, then how do you track that? And you can't say that you don't have those because you have. And if you say that you don't, then that means you are not doing your job.
Okay. I almost understand your question, but I'm going to be honest, not a whole lot.
So what I'm saying is inspectors have come out to my particular area and other areas.
Okay, thank you.
They
That's
have gave the green light on property
Okay.
when they shouldn't have.
Okay.
So how do you handle that? Because this is the thing. You just said once they finish with y'all hand it over.
That's correct.
But y'all got inspectors that y'all know that fully don't inspect these properties the way that they should be. So then they come back to you with saying that this is a green light, and when in fact it shouldn't be a green light.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna do it to my best, and you'll just correct me when I'm wrong. Let's cut the line of what is an inspector according to the land bank. We do not do code enforcement, like at all. We don't do code enforcement as it relates to building and safety. So if building and safety goes out, remember you're asking the land bank a question about building and safety. So if building and safety comes
I'm
out
asking about
and
this.
they pass something, we do not have authority over them to determine whether they are correct or whether they had did something, fraudulent, and we don't have any handling with that. Our inspectors do not pass people through compliance. It doesn't even apply at all. So when we have inspectors that go out and look at our properties before we sell them, it's for the purposes of giving us a property condition report, taking photos, make sure it's prepped for the sales pipeline. But as it relates to somebody coming in and seeing it's just connected properly, is the plumbing correct, is that electrical wired properly so a house doesn't catch on fire, that has nothing to do with the DOBA or compliance. That is a primary building and safety thing. So if you happen to have a property or properties in your neighborhood,
5901. I do have
if people
one,
have came
yes.
out and they have, for whatever reason, given, I guess,
It's burnt up
inspections
now.
that
It's
you
burnt
don't-
up.
Okay, well, whatever it may be, if it's not Old Money Land Bank and building and safety went out, those are the individuals who you should be contacting. Unfortunately, it's not us. And hopefully that helps you a little bit.
And Michelle, to your point, let me just add, we have actually asked BC what happens after the property is turned over from the land bank to the individual, to make sure that BC is holding them accountable and that they have a certificate of compliance, and not just saying, okay, you own the property now, but the city has no idea of the condition of the property. So we have tasked BC with doing that and making sure that there's an actual handoff from the land bank to BC to hold people accountable.
Thought I saw another hand there in the back.
I got the microphone now.
All right, who's next? Now listen, don't let Savannah off the hook now. If you got side lot or neighborhood lot questions, no. I'm teasing.
Okay,
I'm teasing.
so I'm over the Denby Neighborhood Alliance and the president of the 9th Precinct
Yes.
Community Relations Council. So a lot of residents call me concerning different things, including land bank property in their community.
Okay.
We have a gentleman, and he just stepped outside with the fire lieutenant. Lives the house burned up.
Okay.
Long time ago. They cannot even use their property to barbecue. If the wind is blowing, they're getting embers from the house, the burned up house, going into their food. So they can't even use their property because it's a land bank house.
It's a land bank house that burnt up?
Yes.
Okay.
And with numerous complaints to try to get it demolished, including women, including our Department of Neighborhoods, including our Councilwoman's office,
Okay.
have sent various messages to the Detroit Land Bank about this property. It's terrible because it's stopping them from using their land, their property. Their quality of life is diminished because can't have open windows or fans and all that because it's steady blowing
Sure, absolutely.
stuff there onto their property. That's number one. Number two is, and these are complaints that I get.
Okay.
Another resident in District 4 takes care of a vacant lot. Put in for the vacant lot came on for sale. Put in for this side lot. Then got a message from the land bank that side lot was no longer available because they had something else they were using it for. How do you tell a resident they can purchase a lot and then pull it back from them? I have a problem with that because once you put it out for sale and this resident put their interest out there that they're purchasing this lot and you tell them, oh no, we got something else. Now they're saying she can't buy the lot because of a fence. I got a problem with that.
So two things. My partner here, Savannah, is going to help with that second part. The first thing in regards to the property that burnt up, clearly I can see from the head nods that you guys have been trying to work to figure out, I guess, where that's at in the pipeline. Oh, we do have it. Okay, perfect. Oh, perfect. We got it today? Okay, thank you. I was going to ask you for that address to make sure that you got an answer, but it sounds like the team is already on it. Savannah's going to answer the question regarding the lots for you.
So I'm going to come give you my card afterwards as well. Historically, side lots at the land bank have been sold as is. So we see the lot, we see who it's adjacent to, we put it for sale. A problem that has arisen out of that is that occasionally lots in DLBA ownership have a driveway or a fence or what we're calling an improvement on it. It's not a driveway somebody did last week or a fence somebody did 2 years ago. It's a fence or a driveway that's been there in a lot of cases since before the land bank even owned it. So we would come up against the situation a lot where we'd get a call from the mayor's office or from our friends at council saying, well, why did you sell this woman's fenced-in lot? She's had this fenced-in since 1982. So my team specifically has been undergoing efforts to look at every single lot using imagery. So we try to get the most updated imagery online, but with that 63,000 lots that I spoke about earlier, it's a huge undertaking. So we have been identifying those fenced-in lots and removing them from sale temporarily. Every single application that was canceled because we found a fence, we responded with my team's email. I'm gonna give it to you all right now. If you ever have any question about a vacant lot, you can reach out to land, L-A-N-D, reuse, R-E-U-S-E, at DetroitLandBank.org. That's landreuse at DetroitLandBank.org. That email comes direct to my team, not the sales team, but to the listing team. And we actually want to connect with the folks that have fences or driveways or other improvements on their lot to help us figure out a plan going forward. So I would love if you could connect the person who brought that concern to you right to me, and we're gonna reach a resolution. It's not a forever no, it's a holy cow, we have this issue. What are we gonna do to make the smartest decisions to sell these lots while being fair to all the neighbors and accounting for the fact that sometimes folks have lost their yards to foreclosure and may or may not have ever known that they lost those yards to foreclosure. So we're looking at some different tools like maps where we can visually show you where the lots are, et cetera. But please have them reach out to me, and any vacant land questions, including ownership. I know it's not the fastest, but if you want to know who owns a lot, if the land bank owns it, or if we just sold it last week, land reuse at DetroitLandBank.org. My team will get back to you. You can always go to inquire at DetroitLandBank.org as well. They always make me rep that one too. Inquire is great. The response times are great. Land reuse comes right to my team about vacant land. And I'm going to come give you my card right now, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Savannah. Dwayne?
Any other questions for compliance? I see, we got one more hand.
Okay, I have a question. When a property is reverted back to land bank, and land bank posts a notice on the door that this property is now land bank, whatever, what is land bank's responsibility for the upkeep of the exterior of their property and securing that property? And that's one, well, actually it's 3 properties. Prior to these individuals getting the properties, neighbors tried to keep the areas up, right? So they're unable to do it. Rodents, and it's being reported, rodents, their homes are being infiltrated with all types of other insects from those properties. Properties are falling down. People are going into the properties. So what is the land bank's process when, first of all, the individuals were never in compliance, but now that the property has reverted back, BC has, gone through, the properties are legally back in land bank's hand. What recourse do we have other than informing the Dons, our council member, especially because 2 of the properties, sometimes folks come through and neighbors feel a little threatened. But in addition to that, it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. And recently, the shrubs, the weeds have grown up. My husband had somebody, because he can't do it anymore, to cut down some so that people can walk down the street. But we shouldn't have to do that. We pay taxes. We can't keep being expected to do this. I'm not complaining. It's that give us some consideration, and I'm not talking about monetary. I had a lady that came down to my house a few days ago. I was asleep, and my daughter talked to her. But I woke up, I thought it was somebody else. She and her husband, her neighbors were so frustrated. And they say that they're sick and tired of going to meetings and nothing's done. So primarily, I want to know, what is Land Bank's process when they tag a house? Can you please let the other neighbors know that, hey, this house is back in the pipeline? We are attempting to do whatever. Because then we have several that have been sitting looking like that 10, 15 years.
Okay, I'll try to explain. Great question, by the way. Thank you for that question. At the point that we put something on somebody's door and we say we're taking back ownership, there's still legal actions that have to take place before we can officially reconvey or possess the property back. And that does take some time. So as a consolation, if any one of you here in the room own a land bank property, unfortunately you're not able to finish the property and we have to use our reverter clause to reconvey that, you still have an opportunity to fight for that home back, even after we say we're taking it back. Once we say we're taking this back and you still want that property, you still get your opportunity and your chance in court to go before a judge and let the judge determine whether or not that property will go back to us or if it go back to the property owner. This is not a bad thing. This is a good thing to know, that there is an arbitrator that can look at the decision being made and say, you know what, I think we do need to give this young woman or this young man or these people or this community group another opportunity at this property. So there isn't a set time frame that happens. We reconvey the property. It goes right to our legal team. Our legal team then drafts the paperwork so they can go before the judge, and that takes some time. Right now in compliance, we're monitoring approximately 6,500 properties. In your community alone, there's roughly 800 properties that are currently being monitored in District 4. It's about 800 or so. So I don't have a set time frame. Some of that has to do with when we can get before the judge and what did we have prior to in the pipeline, because we batch them and we do them as much as we can. And if an individual comes to me, because I'm over compliance, they come to me and say, Mr. Glenn, Antoine, I had a very hard time in my life. And these are stories we hear all the time. I have had deaths in my families. I've had things burned down. I have things stolen. I know my house is looking in great condition. Can I have another opportunity? There's a process. We don't automatically say yes, nor do we automatically say no. But there is a process that we follow. If that property owner can instill confidence in us that they can complete their property, we will give them another opportunity. It doesn't help the community for that property to not be on the tax records and not have somebody there that's trying to upkeep that property. Most of our properties here in Michigan go through 4 seasons. And if it's not habitated, or if we don't have anybody in that property, those 4 seasons can do a real number on a property. So there is a lag. I say I want the property back because you haven't been performing well, and as part of my duty is with the neighborhood as well. I'm with you at first as a property owner, but if you're showing that you're a bad actor or that you're not fulfilling the obligations, now I have to protect the community and say I need to have this property back. At that point happens, you still, which is a great thing for us being here in America, in Michigan, you still have the right to go before a judge and say, you know what, judge, I can get this property, I can do it, I might have been on hard times, I understand the land bank did what they had to do, but give me another chance, and that judge can still make a determination of giving an extension or not. So there isn't a set time when that happens. We batch them before they go, but just know once we reconvey it and you see that letter on the property saying DLBA ownership, it still takes time because the court process just takes a little bit. Not for the average citizen, no. I thought I might have saw a finger. Oh, I did. Yes. That's what I saw it. I wasn't sure where it was at.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean, okay, that was not what I was
Oh, not the finger. I didn't say the finger. I said a finger. A finger.
Respectfully, that was not what I was trying to do.
It wouldn't be the first time. It's not a problem.
Oh, no. Believe
All
me,
right.
I wasn't trying to do that. I have too much respect for folks.
Not a problem.
Is there a number or a contact person, well, I shouldn't say a person, a contact number for nuisance and abatement to find out about a property where that situation is. Is there someone that I can call from my particular block to find out what's going on with some property? Councilwoman Johnson and Sandra Handy Turner has helped me tremendously over the last 4 years on
Great.
some situations. And right now, I see something trying to reoccur, and I'm just not gonna have it.
Okay, very good. So for nuisance and abatement, if it's remember that's for privately owned? Okay. So if you were to call in to our customer service department or go to our inquiry mailbox, you can put that address in there. I would encourage you putting something if you do it yourself, something in the subject line to say NAP, N-A-P, so that it'll trigger the NAP team to know, like, hey, this is one of ours. And if you're calling in, this is a few things they're gonna ask you when you call in. You let them know, like, hey, listen, I'm calling, there's a nuisance inside my neighborhood, I would like it to be abated. I heard you guys got a program and a team that goes forth and look at these properties. They will know exactly what you want on the phone. And they will make that inquiry, and it sends directly to the leadership team at NAP. And they're gonna have your phone number and email address, and they should be responding back to you by those methods. If that does not happen, and you call them back again, they'll get a hold of somebody in leadership, and we'll make sure you get that answer. And Dwayne is always working really close with everybody, too.
Yep, so if there's any general inquiry about a property or anything like that, several ways you can do it. One, you could call in to our customer service, which is 313-974-6869, or you can send an email to our inquire email, so inquire@detroitlandbank.org, and just in the title, make sure you put what you're looking for. And then, also using the Department of Neighborhoods and Member Johnson's team, who we, frequent with. So if the issue does go to their team, it comes straight to us and we start working on it. So that's basically the long and short on how to do that. And those are for land bank properties. Again, for those vacant, blighted, privately owned, that's NAP. You can put NAP there. And then also, I think you had a question about some of the general maintenance as well. If you find out it's a land bank property and it's a maintenance issue, you can call that number that I just gave you, or the inquire. We'll start an inquiry, and then we'll start the process of trying to figure out how we solve it, either through our partners at GSD or through our team as well. So that's another way. So I want to give some time. If there are individual questions that you would have for our team, we definitely will be up front and in the back to take those individual inquiries. If you have any general questions, we're still here to take those. I know we had a hard stop close to 7. We're close to 7. So I want to turn it back over to Member Johnson's team, and then we can decide how we want to move from there. But we're definitely here in the back or in the front to answer any additional questions that you have until we're answering them through. I'll pass it back to Member Johnson's team. My good friend Gary Gray right here. Oh, man, it's my buddy right here. Good to see you.
Hello, folks. Glad I could be here tonight. Councilwoman had to step out for a minute, and I didn't bring my glasses, and my arms are probably just about long enough to handle it. Okay, I'm just going to go over a few, items that are of general interest to most, if not all of us. One of which is the basement backup protection plan. For those of us who are in the floodplain, which is a large percentage of District 4, the City of Detroit implemented some time ago a plan where you can purchase. It's a small contribution, and that might even be waived for some of us. But the update is we are pleased to report that the basement backup protection plan continues to move forward with the addition of more contractors. The program is specifically tailored to benefit residential homeowners, including owner-occupied residents and landlords of occupied residential houses and duplexes. Within the 11 identified neighborhoods, our District 4 neighborhoods are Cornerstone, East English Village, Jefferson Chalmers, Morningside, and Ross Moraine. Now, these aren't the only neighborhoods that were affected by the flood, but they're the most impacted. District 4, as you may know, was impacted more than any other district in the city. So there's going to be additional funding, which will enable them to expand beyond these districts. So we'll keep you posted on that. Councilwoman is in constant communications with the DWSD, seeking funds from locally and from the federal government. So there's some funds earmarked for Jefferson Chalmers, specifically because they cannot, since they're in a floodplain, they cannot avail themselves of the governmental funds, but the local funds they can. So we'll keep you posted on that. I'm doing okay? Keep rolling, all right. You may have heard about the down payment assistance program, another initiative that led by our dear councilwoman. And that's a program that can provide up to $25,000 towards the down payment on a home. And that's very significant. You can do a lot of damage with $25,000 in terms of a down payment. Some the conventional mortgage requires 20%. You can even get into a home for less than 20%. So 25,000, who's the mathematician? Is 20% of something. I'll let you guys, but it's a pretty large number. So, because I'm just getting warmed up. Okay.
Thank you for that. I'm sure Gary already said thank you to the Land Bank, right? Oh, he hadn't gotten there. Okay. But listen, we certainly do appreciate you all for coming out. The Land Bank is always a hot button topic of discussion, and I appreciate so many of you coming out to address concerns and questions of our constituents, and I know that you'll continue to be here, so if anyone would like to speak directly to them, you are more than welcome to do so. That's right. Give the Land Bank a hand. And before I proceed, I want to acknowledge my team. As you all know, I can't do this work by myself. And if I did, I wouldn't do half as good a job as I do with the team that's here. So some of you saw Cynthia before she left. She was so kind to come on her a day of vacation to come and help set up. So we certainly do appreciate her for that. Gary Gray, who was just standing in for me, is the chief of staff for the office. Dennis Perkins is the deputy chief of staff. And then we have Carlina Toombs, who is one of 2 community liaisons. So thank you, team, for all of your hard work and commitment to our residents in District 4. They know how I feel about you all, so they feel the same way. And so with that, I want to share a few upcoming events that we have on Saturday, August 26th. That's a Saturday, right? At Chandler Park. Our office is collaborating with Project Noah. Many of you know Pastor Alonzo Bell, who does a phenomenal job with teen moms. This program is really to provide resources to young mothers, just to make sure that we continue to provide support and wrap our arms around them. Again, it is Saturday, August 26th from noon until 4 p.m. at Chandler Park. And if you all have this document, you don't need to write anything down. It is here for you. And then September 2nd, we are hosting a movie night at Sasser Playground. Sasser was just recently renovated, and we were really, really excited with the turnout and how amazing the renovations are. They have a walking trail. The Pistons put in a basketball court, exercise equipment, a playground for the young people, a gazebo for anyone in the community, and it is in the heart of a neighborhood in District 4 in Ross Meringue. And so we are ecstatic that it looks absolutely amazing, and so we want to help the community to break it in with this movie night on September 2nd. We are starting at 7:30 p.m. We're showing the Transformers, I believe. So if you know young people in the community, please encourage them to come out and join us. And then on September 30th, Saturday, which is a Saturday, we are looking forward to hosting a health fair. And Gary and I have probably been to every health fair throughout this city to make sure that we have a robust group of vendors that are present. We want it to be fun. So we will have some folks dancing. We will have, of course, all of the regular things that you can get at a health fair. But we want to make sure that we also share some of the phenomenal services and programs that are offered here in the district with residents that are health related. So it's about health and wellness. And we want to have a focus on mental health because we know that has been plaguing our communities for some time, but we want to make sure that people know and understand that we're here to provide support and to provide guidance and direction where it is needed. And that this is something that happens to the best of us, right? And when we need to seek support, we want to encourage people to do so and to identify the support that's available in our neighborhoods. And so we're planning to have a nice discussion about mental health. But we will have a variety of vendors that will be there. We're looking to have someone providing massages and just a number of different things. So it will take place at East English Village Preparatory Academy at Finney. So whichever name you want to call it. It's Finney, it's East English Village Prep. It is on Cadue, near East Warren. And so that will take place again Saturday, September 30th. From 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., we hope you all will spread the word, get the information out, because we want to have a large event for the community to provide continued support for all of our residents around our health. And with that, I think that concludes our meeting. Did I leave out anything, team? Who are you pointing at? Oh. That's what she was sharing. Give me 1 second. I do want to share that there is an amazing salad that is here for you all to partake in. And the vegetables were grown in the garden, in the community garden here, so it's going to be even better. There are also some other things that you all probably don't need, but just make sure you grab the salad, enjoy that, and if there are any questions, any comments, I'm happy to take them or hear them. Yes. Microphone?
Thank you for your meeting, Councilwoman Johnson. I just wanted to mention, my name is Orion Watson. I was here representing Detroit Public Schools. I did bring some calendars, just so folks know of the dates for when school starts and any other days that we'll be out of school, or it has the entire calendar for the entire year. They're on the information table. And just to add to the mental health piece, the Detroit Public Schools has 12 health hubs that we're opening. Started this school year, August 28th, when school opens. And it'll be various health hubs that are inside the schools that provides a whole array of health services, including mental health services and physical health for residents, and it's free of charge, or I shouldn't say it's free of charge, but it attaches to your insurance. If you don't have insurance, then it's covered. So I just wanted to mention that, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that, and we do know that East English Village Preparatory Academy at Finney is one of those locations. Excellent. Thank you. Sandra? Carlina?
I just want to talk about the basement backup plan. Yes. Girl, I'm so loud.
We're recording.
The basement backup plan, we have a resident who's here that have been complaining about the basins in her community, on her block, that are full of mud from where they demolished houses and pushed all that stuff over into the basin, which winds up backing up basements in their area. Every time it rains, and it doesn't have to even be a hard rain now, the basements get backed up. And they're older, they're seniors, and they can't keep running down cleaning out these basements. We need DSWD to really come out, do some inspections, and get this stuff straightened out. Because I can't help them the way I used to. I'm getting old myself, but we got to help them, y'all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We did just send a list of addresses to the Detroit Water and Sewers Department where we know that's happening. And so we'll make sure we have that address on the list. But I was looking at you because I know we've talked about DWSD being the presenter for our September meeting and just looking for a head nod or a confirmation.
Absolutely.
Excellent. But I want to make sure that we get that address so we can provide it. And because I've asked, there have been some street basins that have been clogged with concrete. I'm saying, what are we doing with that as a city and making sure that we are addressing that? So I appreciate you uplifting that. Thank you. Any additional questions, comments? All right. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing you in September. Our meetings are always the third Monday of the month at 5:30 p.m. Stay connected. Thank you.